In a world where we're more connected than ever, why do so many friendships feel so fragile? You share memes, you share secrets, but something's missing: depth, safety, truth. The Stoics knew this emptiness well, and they left behind blueprints for friendships that don't break when storms hit. Today, we uncover them. Because let's be honest, some friendships feel more like performances than partnerships. You laugh together, sure, but when life shakes, when grief or failure or silence settles in, who shows up? Who listens without judgment? Who holds the rope when you've lost the strength to pull yourself back? Maybe you felt that moment, when you looked at someone you called a friend and realized you didn't trust them with your vulnerability. Not really, because something told you they love your light, but they disappear in your darkness. That moment is a quiet heartbreak, and it lingers. We live in a culture that celebrates quantity over quality. We chase likes, we build networks, we collect connections like trophies. But inside, many of us are starving for something real. A friendship built not on convenience or gossip, but on shared virtue, on mutual growth, on presence. A bond that isn't threatened by silence, but deepened by it. The Stoics didn't write about friendship for decoration. They lived it. Epictetus once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls out your best." To the Stoics, a true friend isn't just someone you enjoy. There's someone who strengthens your character. And that's what this video is about. Not friendship as society defines it, but as your soul deserves it. By the end of this journey, you'll know how to spot the difference between attention and alignment, between people who drain you and people who develop you. You'll learn how to build bonds rooted in something unshakable. And more importantly, you'll learn how to be that kind of friend yourself. So if this message stirs something in you, welcome. You're exactly where you need to be. I invite you to like this video, subscribe to Stoic Now, and walk with us as we rediscover what friendship was always meant to be. Now take a breath and come with me into the silence where real connection begins. Friendship is often mistaken for company, for someone to talk to, text, laugh with. But the Stoics, those quiet watchers of the soul, believed friendship was something else entirely. Not noise to distract you from solitude, but strength to walk through solitude with you. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." A real friend, then, is not a mirror, but a compass. They don't reflect your ego back to you. They point you toward who you could become. Think about it. How many people in your life feel good, but leave you foggy? How many make you laugh, but never help you grow? Not out of malice, just inertia. They pull you toward comfort when life is demanding change. And that's where character must come before charm. I once knew someone, a friend who could light up any room. Hilarious, quick with a story, made you feel like the most important person in the world until the day you really needed them. When my world unraveled, they vanished, not out of cruelty, but confusion. They didn't know how to hold stillness. Only attention, only motion. That's when I learned. Presence without virtue is just performance. A Stoic friendship is built on mutual values, not mutual trauma, not shared enemies, not just common interests. Virtue, integrity, temperance, courage, justice. That's the foundation. If you're walking one direction in life, toward purpose, clarity, discipline, and they're sprinting the other way, chaos will find its way between you. Not all misalignment is dramatic. Some is quiet, invisible, but over time, it splits the ground beneath your feet. And yet, here's where it gets even more profound. The Stoics didn't just warn us about weak bonds. They warned us about weak minds entering bonds too soon. We romanticize finding our people. But the truth is, until you are whole within, every connection you make will be shaped by your emptiness. You'll cling. You'll compromise. You'll confuse being needed with being respected. That's not friendship. That's dependency dressed up in affection. So the work begins with you. Emotional independence doesn't mean isolation. It means clarity. It means choosing friendships, not needing them to fill a hole. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." And that freedom must extend to how you relate to others. A friend should be a choice, not an emotional survival mechanism. This is where modern life deceives us. We confuse proximity with connection. We assume replies mean respect. That likes equal love. But the Stoics teach us to look deeper, into the fruit, not just the flowers, into the character, not just the chemistry. The people in your life, Do they encourage stillness in you or chaos? Do they sharpen your clarity or blur it? Do they speak truth even when it stings? Or do they keep you small to keep themselves safe? A true friend won't always make you feel good, but they will make you better. That's where the foundation lies. Not in constant availability, not in matching aesthetics, but in shared virtue, mutual challenge, quiet loyalty. You don't measure a friend by how quickly they text back, but by how they sit with your silence. Not who celebrates your spotlight, but who respects your shadows. That's the friendship the Stoics lived by, and that's what you deserve. Because when life shakes, and it will, you'll need more than a party guest. You'll need someone who stands like stone beside you, not louder than the storm, but steady through it. And it starts here, with clarity, with character, with choice. The 5 pillars of unbreakable friendship. Not all friendships are built to last. Some are just seasons, meant to pass. But others, rare and rooted, feel like they were carved from something older than memory. They don't just survive life's tests, they steady you through them. The Stoics understood this distinction. To them, friendship wasn't a convenience, it was a craft, a discipline, a deliberate forging of 2 souls through fire and time. Not every bond can survive the weight of truth, but the ones that can, they're unbreakable, because they're built on pillars. And here, we uncover 5. First, boundaries as respect. Many mistake closeness for access, but real friendship respects limits. A friend who demands your attention, who pushes past your nose, who calls at 2 a.m. without pause or reason, that's not intimacy. That's intrusion. Seneca warned against people who drain your time and spirit under the guise of connection. Love isn't proved by persistence, it's shown through restraint. The friend who honors your silence, your solitude, your sacred routines, that's someone who sees you, not just uses you. I had a friend once who disappeared the moment I asked for space. No fight, no closure, just silence. Their loyalty was built on my availability, not my worth. That taught me, the ones who stay when you set boundaries, those are your people. Second, honest speech as loyalty. Truth is rare currency in friendship. Most people will say what keeps the peace, what keeps them liked. But a Stoic friend speaks with courage, not to harm, but to sharpen. Epictetus said, "A friend is one soul dwelling in 2 bodies." And if that's true, then hiding truth from a friend is like hiding oxygen from your own lungs. Have someone in your life who's told you something you didn't want to hear, but needed to? That's sacred. That's love in its most courageous form. The flatterer is loud in praise and silent in crisis. The real friend is gentle in presence, but sharp in truth. Third, consistency over intensity. Some friendships feel like fireworks, blinding, loud, short-lived. They come in strong, make you feel seen, loved, electric, and then they vanish. Life gets busy. Messages fade, promises drift, but Stoicism values the steady torch more than the burning flare. A real friend may not text every day, may not flood your feed with shoutouts, but when you're in need, they're there, like a lighthouse, not a spark. There's strength in showing up quietly, again and again. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's dependable. And in life's hardest hours, it's the quiet ones who save you. Fourth, shared struggles strengthen bonds. We often build friendships around joy, vacations, drinks, good news. But bonds forged only in ease crack under pressure. Do something hard with someone. Build a business. Lose a parent. Run a marathon. Sit in grief. Walk through uncertainty. These moments are the furnace of true brotherhood. Marcus Aurelius said, "When you rise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." And it's even more sacred when someone walks that same morning beside you, not to celebrate the sunrise, but to stand with you in the dark. Fifth, self-reliance as the foundation. Here's the paradox. The strongest friendships are between the most independent people. When you don't need a friend to survive emotionally, you're finally free to choose the right ones. Your presence is no longer about validation. It's about mutual elevation. Picture 2 trees, separate, rooted, whole, growing side by side. They don't lean on each other to survive. But in the storm, their roots intertwine beneath the soil, giving each other unseen strength. That's the kind of friendship the Stoics modeled. Grounded, free, unshakable. There comes a moment in life, not loud, not dramatic, when you sit in a quiet room and realize something unsettling. You've spent years seeking connection, chasing closeness, aching to be seen. And yet, somehow, you still feel invisible. You scroll through messages, replay old conversations, think about the ones you call friend. But underneath the laughter and the history, a question rises. Do I truly feel safe with these people? Sometimes that answer stings, but it also opens a door. Because here's the truth the Stoics whisper in silence. The best friend you will ever have is the one you become for yourself first. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And that includes the way you relate to others. The more whole you become, the less you beg to be understood. The more you respect yourself, the less you settle for half-hearted affection disguised as care. I remember sitting on a park bench one fall afternoon, leaves falling like slow confessions, realizing that the person I'd always wanted to call me, to reach out, to show up, wasn't going to. And something in me cracked, not from sadness, but from truth. I had outsourced my peace for too long, waited for someone else to validate my worth, expected someone else to carry what was always mine to hold, confused presence with partnership. But as the wind wrapped around my shoulders like a quiet teacher, I realized I was not broken. I was just misaligned, looking for something outside that had to start within. That was the day I stopped chasing people. And slowly, something beautiful began to unfold. When you no longer try to be needed, you become magnetic. Not because you're performing, but because you're whole. And wholeness attracts what's true. That's the paradox the Stoics teach us. The more self-reliant you become, the more naturally the right people are drawn to you. Not out of need, but resonance. Because when your peace isn't on the table, when your identity doesn't hinge on someone else's opinion, you walk differently. You speak differently. You connect differently. You become the friend you always wanted, loyal to your truth, consistent in your values, honest in your presence. And when you show up like that, you begin to attract people who meet you in that same place of quiet strength. Not always many, but enough. And enough is sacred. So if you've been wondering why your friendships feel fragile, why some people fade when your heart gets heavy, maybe it's not because you're unworthy. Maybe it's because you're waking up. And that awakening is calling you to become something deeper. A man or woman who is no longer waiting to be chosen, because they've already chosen themselves. And from that place of self-friendship, all other bonds either deepen or dissolve. Both are blessings. Because when you become your own refuge, no storm can unhouse you. This is not loneliness. This is liberation. So ask yourself, not who's around you, but who's within you. That's where it all begins. We began with a simple question: why do friendships feel so fragile in a world so connected? And now, after walking through the quiet halls of Stoic wisdom, we arrive at a truth that doesn't scream, but settles in the chest like a steady heartbeat. Real friendship doesn't echo noise. It reflects virtue. It doesn't depend on mood. It grows from meaning. It doesn't crumble in silence. It thrives in it. What we long for isn't more people. It's deeper people. Souls who don't fear our storms. Who walk beside us not just in laughter, but in loss. Who speak truth when it's inconvenient, and stay loyal when it's uncomfortable. And to find that, we must first become that. Seneca reminded us, "He who regards himself only, and enters into friendship for this reason, reckons wrongly." The greatest relationships are not about taking, they're about becoming. Becoming a person who doesn't just crave real friendship, but creates the space for it to exist. You don't need 10 friends who clap when you win. You need 2 who hold your hand when you break. You don't need constant affirmation. You need quiet alignment. You don't need to be followed. You need to be felt by a few, and that's enough. This is the ancient path the Stoics offer us, not crowded, but clear, not loud, but lasting. A path where every connection is chosen, not chased. Where respect comes before attention. Where virtue binds more tightly than words ever could. And if, as you watch this, you felt something stir in you, a memory, a longing, a truth you've been ignoring, I invite you to listen to it. Maybe there's someone in your life who no longer fits your peace. Maybe there's a friend who deserves more of your honesty. Or maybe it's time to stop looking outward and begin nurturing the most sacred friendship of all, the one between you and you. Because when you become your own anchor, your own advocate, your own witness, the world around you shifts. You stop settling. You stop shrinking. You begin to attract not just people, but reflections of your growth. That's the Stoic way. Quiet strength, inner clarity, deliberate bonds. And if this message echoed something true in you, I invite you, gently, sincerely, to be part of this space. Subscribe to Stoic now. Leave a comment with your thoughts or your story, because this isn't just content, it's a conversation. One that continues every time a soul chooses depth over distraction, presence over performance. Together, we're building something rare here. A community not of noise, but of quiet wisdom. Not of perfection, but of people willing to grow, willing to choose friendship the Stoic way. And as we close, let this final thought rest in your mind. You are not alone in your longing for realness. You are not strange for desiring truth. And you are not weak for outgrowing noise. You are simply returning to what matters. So stay the course, stand in your clarity, and walk with those who strengthen your soul. Until next time, be well, be rooted, and be the kind of friend the world so desperately needs.